Vamos a grabar. Muy bien. Excelente. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are well. We do have quite a few folks out with various things. That's the way life goes, but we'll record this for everybody who cannot make it. Kind of an overview of what I want to do today. I want to take a few minutes as kind of a warm up to take a look at last week's video and specific areas where they specifically used the direct object pronouns that we're going to practice today so that you can see how it is interjected uh, um, in real life, in a real conversation. And then we're going to move on to our picture prompts of using some direct object pronouns. And of course, the ones we're going to focus on will be less the metenos, but more the lo, la, and los and las type ones that talk about people or things, okay? Because those are harder for us. The metenos is a little more natural, but the lo, la, los, las is something that we have to think about. Is that thing a masculine item, a feminine noun? Is it plural? Is it singular? And because we have to go through all those kind of mental gymnastics in our heads, it can be a little bit difficult. So we're going to focus on that. Take your questions on the listening videos, see if you have any questions there. And then we'll see what else we can fit in for the day. I'm going to plug this in so that you can see, and oops, I need to kind of fiddle a little with my screens here too. Vale. See. Okay, we're going to see the first use of lo, la, los, las, and it popped up in a bunch of situations. Um, so notice I'm going to have to actually show you a little bit ahead of time because we need to have some context whenever we hear things like this. You need context for direct object pronouns. We can't just throw around the word it or them without knowing what we're referring to. So we're going to see some little instances here, and she's talking about a trip. Uh, um, Alma is talking about a trip she took to Mexico, and they're discussing her experiences with that, and she's going to throw in a la.
En nuestra website puedo ver videos de ustedes interactuando con mi cultura, con México, en Ciudad de México, y es increíble ver cómo sufriste un poco, pero bueno, espero que regreses.
Sí,
And Alma had some issues, and I believe it was with the spiciness of the food, if I'm not mistaken, because I know which video she's referring to. Sufriste un poco, you suffered a little bit, but I hope that you come back. Espero que regreses.
la verdad es que a mí me gustaría volver y me gustaría ver más de México porque yo solo conozco Ciudad de México y algunos pueblos cerca de la Ciudad de México, pero no conozco la costa, las playas, la naturaleza, no la conozco en México.
And no la conozco. I'm not familiar with it. And here it's kind of lumped together. She talked about a lot of feminine things, and that's why I think she chose to use a la. La costa, las playas, la naturaleza, and she was thinking in feminine mode. No la conozco. I'm not familiar with it. And she could be referring even to La Ciudad de Mexico. La Ciudad de Mexico, if we're going to refer back to it as Mexico City, it would have to be a feminine word. So, no la conozco. I'm not familiar with it. There was the first one. We're going to take a look at just a few of these before we do our practice. I'm going to zoom through to about the 12-minute mark.
Mucho comida en puestos callejeros.
She's talking about getting food at food stands on the street. Okay, so when she talks about puestos callejeros, there are street stands, there are street food stands.
Luego, ¿qué hacéis? ¿Os sentáis en la calle y coméis o lo lleváis a la casa y coméis?
Do you sit down and eat it or do you take it home? And she's using the vosotros form because she's from Spain, but don't worry too much about the lleváis. Lo lleváis. Do you take it home?
¿En la casa o cómo funciona?
Creo que la mayoría de los mexicanos come en la calle. Habrá alguno que otro que compre tacos y se los lleve a su casa o a su...
Compre tacos. Hay personas que compre tacos. There's some people who might buy tacos y se los lleve a su casa and they take it to their homes. And the los is looking back at the idea of los tacos. So the los is referring back to tacos. So there's another, and we're going to have one more we'll show before we do our practice. Uy, ¿dónde está? Está en 21. Okay. They're talking about people being out on the streets
Se ven
at
bastante
night,
los
late.
niños y hacen vida en la calle como sus padres.
Qué loco, de verdad, qué padre, qué afortunados, qué bonito que puedan salir y no me imagino, si yo tuviera hijos, incluso mis
If I had kids, even talking about my sisters, incluso mis hermanas,
hermanas, no las dejaría así como, ay, bueno, voy a comer, voy a tomar unas...
no las dejaría así. I wouldn't just leave them out there. And the las is looking back at two. She was talking about because she doesn't have kids. Incluso mis hermanas, even my sisters. Yeah, even though I don't have kids, even my sisters, I wouldn't just leave out on the street late at night by themselves. No las dejaría así. I wouldn't leave them out there like that. And the las is a them word, but it's referring back. If she wasn't talking about hermanas beforehand, she wouldn't be able to just throw out a las, right? We've got to know that she's talking about hermanas, that, right? No las dejaría. So all those kinds of things are where we have to know the context first to throw in a direct object pronoun, a lo, la, los, or las. Okay, bien? But you've got the general idea of how that winds up working. So kind of be aware of that when you listen to videos. It's just, naturally what they always use, but we need to know the context first. Okay? Bien? Let's see if you've got some practice ideas. And I really meant for this, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger so you don't have to squint at the screen. Mejor, better. Espero, ¿sí? Es mejor. Pueden ver. Can you see it all? Okay. This is very open. Ah, quiero que ustedes usen una expresión. Quiero que ustedes digan algo original, o natural de hablar de usar ingredientes, usar ingredientes. So let's first go to how we'll probably talk about, if I were just to talk about ingredients in general, ingredientes, and say them, not these specific items, but just ingredients as a word, ingredientes. What word would I use as an object pronoun to talk about them, meaning ingredients?
Los.
Los. Los. Right. Los. Sí. Correcto, correcto. Los, because it's los ingredientes, right? But if I then look at individual items, ooh, eggs. What'll be the them word to talk back at or refer back to eggs as them?
Los.
Los. Sí, los. Los huevos. But we have to know it's a los huevos word. Aha. Okay. Vale. See? Uh, Milk. How do we refer back to milk and say it?
La.
La, because it's la leche. See? Okay. Shredded cheese. How do we refer back to it? Meaning cheese.
Lo.
Lo. Bien. See? Um, okay. And here, wow, with pepper, with anything that refers back to pepper, you won't refer to it as all those individual little pieces being plural because that's not really what you mean, right? You mean that you're talking about like a bell pepper, right? A bell pepper and ¿cómo se dice pepper?
Pimienta.
Yeah, it could be pimienta, it could be a chile, it could be a chile. Yeah, it kind of depends. There are like a lot of regional variations and how we talk about a pepper. But okay, pimienta. So it'll be the it word,
La.
la. Okay. And
Marilyn,
sí.
before you move on from pepper, I have a question because whenever I looked it up, it said el pimiento, but then whenever I looked up the seasoning pepper, it said pimienta with an A at the end.
Yeah, sí.
So,
Um, sí. Okay. Um, Pepper as a spice is pimienta. You know, if you're talking about a bell pepper, some places call it a pimentón. So, you know, you're going to have some variation with these kind of food words sometimes. So do be aware of that. That happens. It could be pimiento, masculine. It could be morrón. Uh, it could be a pimentón. It could be a chile if it's really a, you know, a chili. It kind of depends on which type of pepper it is. Uh, Pimienta I would use as more black pepper, but pimiento I would use more as bell with an O is a more a bell pepper. So you know what? It kind of depends regionally on what they call that. Some places will just call them chiles. Yeah. So sometimes with some of things, some of these kind of words, you can just do a generic lo and people know what you're talking about. It works, right? Uh, but lo would be kind of more the vegetable there. Pimienta with an a is more what I would use for a pepper, like a black pepper, as in a seasoning, which we would use as a seasoning here. But let's take a look. Also, rice. ¿Cómo se dice rice?
Arroz.
Arroz. El arroz. So it will be
Lo.
lo, right? Corn.
Maíz.
Um, El maíz, el elote, you know, it kind of depends again. This gets some regional variations, but it'll be a lo, right? Chicken. And it doesn't matter that
Pollo.
it's chicken breast, it's
Pollo.
pollo. So it will be
Lo.
lo. If we're looking at something like salsa,
La.
La.
la. Okay, bien. Adelante. Entonces, por ejemplo, si pregunto, por ejemplo, si Nora, si yo te pregunto, cuando haces galletas, cuando tú haces galletas para la familia, ah, ¿usas huevos? ¿Usas huevos para hacer las galletas?
Sí,
Sí,
normalmente.
los usa.
Los uso. Muy
Los uso.
natural, right? Somebody is not generally going to repeat the word huevos, right? They're going to replace it with a them word. ¿Ok? ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Ok. Hay algunos ejemplos aquí, and you kind of have to mention the item first so we know what you're talking about. Sí, Nora.
This was the question I have. I started with the question, ¿Te gusta el queso? And the answer is it si me lo gusta? Put
Ajá.
the lo after the me?
No.
Or is it
Me
say
gusta.
si lo
Buena
me gusta?
pregunta. Good question. Good question. Sometimes this is the thorny thing with the word it. Sometimes we don't even need the
Oh,
word it.
just these
And
si me gusta.
just me gusta. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Me lo gusta, no.
okay,
But that is because in English, I like it needs an it word. And in Spanish, there is no like verb. You're saying it, that thing, is pleasing to me. And
okay.
so there isn't
That's
really
right.
any need for the word it in Spanish. English needs that, Spanish does not. So that will not use lo. But there's a reason I gave you these verbs that you've got up here, like usar, añadir, preparar, cortar. So, por ejemplo, cuando hago enchiladas, ah, cuando hago enchiladas, las preparo, las preparo, las preparo las preparo con mucha salsa, ¿sí? Ah, ah, pero pero la mezclo, and this la is referring back to the salsa. La mezclo con crema amarga. I mix it with sour cream.
Hmm.
¿Sí? La mezclo. Cuando uso la salsa, la mezclo con crema amarga primero. ¿Ok? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Bueno, entonces, algo con los, las. Any ideas with these as ingredients? Lori, sí.
I have a little short paragraph. Hacer una tortilla de huevo, uso 4 huevos. Los rompo en un cuenco y los mezclo con leche, sal y pimienta. La cocino a fuego medio. Cerca del final de cocinar le añado el queso rallado. Y todo es una mentira porque mi esposo la cocina, no yo.
Ok, bien, bien. A tu esposo le gusta cocinar.
Sí, y
Ah,
cocina muy bien.
y cocina muy bien. Wow, qué
Yo no
fantástico.
mucho. Yo no mucho.
Bien, bien, bien. Bueno, excelente, excelente. Muy bien. Otro ejemplo. Hay otro ejemplo. Any other example of los las? Talk about ingredients here. ¿Algo con ingredientes? Bueno, sí, Mariana.
Um, las especiaces, adelas, andalas, edam, a- ante, anadales. No?
Are you trying to use añadir?
Yes.
Okay. Who's
An-
doing the adding? Do I do it? Does somebody
I'm
else?
ustedes.
Ustedes.
Yeah.
Are you giving this as a command?
No, I'm just stating.
Okay. If you guys add, and it's not a command, ustedes añaden. Ustedes añaden.
Añade las. I said las especias and add them poco a poco.
Okay. But see, if you say add them, are you telling somebody to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. Mariana, you're bringing up a good thing. Don't feel awkward about that. You're bringing up a good thing. Let's take a look at this. And this is going to lead into something, Lori, that you brought up about commands. Where do those little words, lo, la, los, las, go? If I'm just talking about facts, you know, what I do as a general, or what Lori's cooking husband does as a general fact, I might say, ah, el esposo de Lori, él, él usa el queso mucho cuando cocina. He uses cheese a lot when he cooks. ¿Sí? Y cuando el esposo de Lori cocina, ah, porque él usa mucho queso, because he uses a lot of cheese, lo añade, añade a, a las enchiladas, lo añade a la ensalada, ¿sí? Lo añada a los huevos fritos para el desayuno. I'm talking about what he generally does. Then the lo, la, los, las has to come in front of the verb.
okay.
Um, but
If I'm
if
giving
you're
a command.
saying, hey, I'm giving you guys steps, yeah?
Okay.
And I tell you, and let's say it's a you guys steps. Now it becomes a command
Okay.
because you're telling somebody to do something. And with a command that says, go do it, the words lo, la, los, las won't come in front of the noun. They come
Attached to the end.
attached to the end.
Right, right.
And it's something that we switch into that mode without thinking about, is that a command? But in order to put those little words in the right place, we need to be thinking about that.
Okay.
If I want to say, hey, you guys, you know, add the eggs one at a time. You know, some recipes have you add one egg, beat it in, wait, one more egg, beat it in, like that. See? It could be something like this. Cuando ustedes añaden los huevos, when you guys add the eggs, see? Uh, añádanlos uno por uno. Uno a poco. Añádanlos poco a poco. Add them little by little. See?
Okay.
So that is part of the mental gymnastics, yeah, of using pronouns. Okay?
Right.
¿Entiendes?
Yes, 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 I do.
Okay. Vale. Bien. Bueno, Carrie.
Yeah, I have maybe a similar question. I got a little turned around with my like my sentence here, but cuando hacer una tortilla, pongo los huevos en una sartén, entonces los añadir otra ingredientes.
Who's doing the añadir?
Well, I'm generally, you add.
Generally, and you mean anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody at all is it can be a couple of things. You can make it in ustedes, right?
Okay.
Ustedes los añaden if it's a fact. But if you're giving it as a command, añádanlos, add them. If they're instructions, if you're giving instructions, like a recipe, if you're giving it as instructions, then it's a command, añádanlos. And that's something we don't often think about, but yeah. It could even be instead of instructions, a general you. And this is just to give you an idea of how you might hear them because you might not be prepared for. You're hearing them different ways. You might hear it as somebody making a video and they show you, now I am adding these. Ahora los añado. Now I add them. And they're showing you how I am doing it. It might be expressed, be prepared for it as anybody does it this way. Se los añaden. You add them. You, not meaning you, I'm giving a command, but anybody would do it this way. Se los añaden. Se los añaden. The se, meaning any old person, would do it. Okay, impersonally. Be prepared for somebody may throw it out there as I'm giving you instructions like it's in a recipe, in which case it could also be a command. Añádanlos. Añádanlos. Añádanlos poco a poco. Add them little by little. Okay, so here's kind of the hard thing. We're not always prepared for how they're going to come at us with, we're not always prepared for how we're going to hear it presented, which is why you get the videos because you don't know the format. You got to be listening for all possibilities. And all possibilities means those lo words might be in different places, depending on if they're telling you what somebody is doing, or if they're giving you instructions, and in the case of a cooking thing, it might be just instructions. Okay, the way I had intended this was just for you to talk about how you personally do this, but you're right. In a video, it could be given as this is how you do it, giving instructions. So it can take many forms. Okay. And this was intended to be very open. So, okay. Vale. Bueno, otros ejemplos. Any other examples with these? Por ejemplo, sí, Lori.
I had another one with I did one with the first picture and one with the second one. So for the second picture, uso las tortillas para cocinar burritos en casa. Siempre las tengo en la nevera. Los ceno una vez por semana.
Ok, sí. Siempre las tengo, tortillas, siempre las tengo en la cocina. I always have them in the kitchen, ¿sí? Siempre las tengo en la nevera, ¿sí? ¿Sí? Bien. Entonces, pero para hablar de tortillas, por ejemplo, tortillas, y también hay tortillas aquí. Bien, tortillas para referirse a las tortillas se dice solamente las. Siempre hay tortillas en mi cocina. Las uso una vez a la semana. Las uso. I use them. Las uso una vez a la semana. I use them once a week. Por ejemplo. ¿Sí? Las uso. Sí. En México las comen todos los días. They eat them. Las comen todos los días. ¿Ok? Muy general. Bien. Bueno, hay otros ejemplos aquí o quizás allá, or maybe for this. And here I didn't give you any words to, uh, we've got, tenemos cebolla, calabacita, tortillas, queso, frijoles, sí. Ah, bien, bien. Aceite, oil, bien.
Marilyn,
Vale, sí.
what's the word for avocado? When I looked that up, there were two different ones,
Se usa
aguacate and
aguacate.
aguacate,
Aguacate.
because it also gave palta as like a Latin American use,
Posible.
or stick with
One of the
aguacate.
difficult things with food ingredients is that when you go to different regions, there may be a different word used. Uh, in Bolivia for a certain food item, or in Argentina for a certain food item. Food ingredients get a lot of regional variations. So you just kind of have to go with the flow on that. It's just the way that kind of is. Even for things that are sort of common, that can happen quite a lot. Okay, hay otros ejemplos. Any other examples with these it words? ¿Sí o no?
Yeah. I got one
Sí,
more. See if I
sí,
can get through
okay,
this
vale,
one.
sí.
Los ingredientes son para la cena. La preparé esta noche.
Okay. La preparé. I prepared them.
I will. I preparé.
Ah, sí. Sí. And you're referring back with your pronoun to the
The
word?
ingredients.
Los.
Los. Okay.
Los,
Oh,
sí.
yeah. Okay. Los. Yeah.
Los voy a usar. Los voy a usar. Los voy a usar. Voy a usarlos. So let's take a look. I'm going to add this on.
I think I was referring back to dinner. I'm going to prepare it
Oh,
tonight.
okay, perdón. Sí, la cena, la
La
cena.
cena. Yeah.
Then you use la.
La
Sí,
preparé.
la preparo. La preparo.
Will, isn't it a future tense?
Ah,
I will prepare tonight.
la voy a preparar. La voy a
Wait, la preparar.
preparar.
Okay.
O posible, voy a prepararlo. Voy a preparar. Oh, prepararla, perdón. Prepararla. ¿Sí?
La.
Bien.
Okay.
Okay. So let me show something funky that happens with lo, la, los, or las. El orden, o sí, la posición es mejor. La posición. Oh, de lo o la o los o las. Depende. It depends. It depends, of course. So, in English, that it always kind of tends to be a trailing, following word. Fix it, eat it, use it. uh, uh, don't use it, whatever you're going to say. But in Spanish, those little words, lo, la, los, or las, might come in different places. If it is a plane, let's say a plane, I don't know what else to call it. Well, you could just call it indicative. If it is any kind of an indicative statement. Call it that, an indicative statement of fact. Yeah, any kind of indicative statement of fact. I like to kind of sometimes just say plain sentence because plain sentences, yeah. The it or them word, whichever pronoun it is, lo or la or los or las, uh, must be used before the verb. And that is the opposite word order of English. Yeah. So is say, instead of saying, I'm fixing it for dinner, meaning you're going to do it, right? And you're talking about la cena. El ejemplo es la cena. Our example is we're referring back to supper, and therefore we need this word la. You can, if you're just wanting to say, I'm preparing it at 5. It's not 5 yet, is it? Right? It's not 5 o'clock yet. So, la preparo a las 5. La preparo a las 5. I'm going to fix it at 5. And that preparo can be assumed as a few hours down the line statement. I can take plain old present tense and use it as an implication, I will be doing that very soon. La preparo. I can, if I want to make it specifically like be certain that you understand its future, instead of using preparo, I can use voy a preparar, right? Voy a preparar is what you'll generally use conversationally to talk about future. You won't use future tense in just chit-chatting with the family about what time to talk about future. Future tense does exist. It would be something like prepararé,
Yeah.
right? Prepararé. It is a specific verb tense. It's got separate uh, um, future tense endings. But the fact is, when people are just talking normally about what they're going to do, they don't use that future tense very frequently. It has specific uses, which is for another thing. What they will use is voy a preparar. Voy a preparar is a way that specifically is it indicates it's not happening now, it will soon. Okay. Now, this is not preparo is a single verb by itself, but voy a preparar is something that we take as a chunk that hangs together. So I can take that word la, it, referring back to supper, and say, trying to turn off my underlining here. La voy a preparar. Just like I told you in front of the verb, that's okay. But because this is a chunk of two verbs together, something else is also considered correct and may also be said. You can also take that word la and stick it on the end of the infinitive. So it can be voy a prepararla.
Right.
Okay? Both are considered okay to do. Is one more correct than the other? No. It's what the speaker feels like. It's what the speaker feels like doing. They have an option. And they can say either, and both of those are correct. But why is that correct? That is correct because it is a two-verb combo. All right? It is a two-verb combo. That is why that is correct. It's because of the structure of that sentence. A single verb talking about a statement of fact, it's got to be in front of the verb. If I've got two verbs working together that are talking about the same action, right? Then those two verbs hang together, but the it word might come in front of the verb just like it did with this same order, or I have a choice of I can stick it on the end, and it has to go on the end of the infinitive, not the verb, not the conjugated verb. ¿Sí? Bien? ¿Entienden?
See, I tried to use the future tense,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh,
we have word order of if there is a indicative, you know what? Let me be a little more specific. Indicative single verb, one verb by itself. right? One verb by itself. These pronouns must come before the verb if it is a single verb by itself. Once I've got a two verb combo, not a single verb by itself, right? Then things change a little bit. The rules change a little bit because there are two possible positions for the it word that are both acceptable. So the rules just changed on you. Shoot. Okay. Bien. Now we're going to have another situation. So, ooh, all right. Let me put them in bold so you know. Yeah. Usage matters. Context matters. A two verb combo, I've got two things that are acceptable. Let's take a look at another two verb combo where two positions are okay. And that verb combo is not voy a, but it's this, which is still a two verb combo. Estoy preparando. If I am doing it right now, if I am at the kitchen counter doing the chopping and the stirring and the cooking and the frying, or the baking or whatever it is, I might use this. It is a two verb combo, just like voy a preparar is a two verb combo. And when I've got a situation like this, same kind of thing is going to happen. It can be la estoy preparando, right? I can also say estoy preparándola. Estoy preparándola. The two are acceptable. Two positions for the word la are acceptable. So, in front of the conjugated verb, yes. Attached to the ando yendo, yes. So, lo, la, los, las can get attached when you've got an infinitive that's part of a two verb combo. They can be attached when you've got a two verb combo with this present progressive. That is going to happen. So the position of these pronouns is flexible in this next one. We're going to call this flexible. Flexible. Because it is flexible. It has two different places it can go. I cannot get my, let's just put in flexible. It is flexible here. You have a choice. It doesn't matter which choice you take. Either choice is okay, right? Here, no es flexible. This is not a flexible situation, okay? This is a flexible situation. And that lo, la, los, las is going to do something different if it is in a command situation. But again, of course, it can't be simple. Commands, depende. There's one set of rules for go do it commands. There's a different set of rules for don't do it commands. There are two different positions, and this is fixed. It is not. No es flexible. It is not flexible. So, affirmative commands, you must attach direct objects. Okay, so let's look at an idea of what is an affirmative command. What Mariana brought up. Gracias, Mariana. Thank you, Mariana, for bringing this up because es importante. It's important, right? An affirmative command can be something as simple as giving directions. When you're giving directions to somebody, generally, yeah, that's a command because you're telling them to go do something. And we in English aren't thinking about that as a command. Yeah, we think of commands as stop, go, yeah, eat. Okay, yes, those are commands too. But if you say something like, Cut, cortar. You tell somebody cut, yeah? Cut the onions, onions, cebollas. And let's just even call it cebolla because it's an onion. You've got one onion, yeah? Cebolla. What is going to happen here is as a command, let's say you're telling your kid to do it. Yeah, it'll be a friendly command, a tu command. Córtala, 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 cut it, right? We must attach the object pronoun if we've got a go do it kind of command. You don't have a choice. No es flexible. It is not flexible like this one because you're telling somebody go do that. Yeah. If it's a negative command, we have a different word order that happens with these. Okay. The direct object goes back to before the verb. It goes back to that before verb position. So it goes back to this kind of situation. So don't cut it, talking back about the onion. No la cortes, no la cortes, don't cut it. And I know the verb just did a funky thing here, but yeah. No la cortes, no la cortes. See, the la has to come back up in front of a command. So we have different positioning for all these pronouns, right? And the command goes into two different situations. But these are the kind of things we have to be aware of when we're throwing out it or them words. Yeah. How you're using the sentence, how you're speaking to somebody does matter. Now, if you make a mistake, are you going to be totally misunderstood? No. You're probably going to be okay, but will the person have to think harder about it? Yes, they will. All right, because it sounds wrong to them and it's going to sound like a wrong order. So it'll throw them a little bit. They have to listen harder to you to understand you. Does that make sense? See? Bien. Don't let it paralyze you, but do know that there are different positions for these words depending on the context in which we're using them. See? ¿Entienden? Sí, Lori.
So just kind of, not that it's important, but curious. So like on a recipe in Spanish, would the directions be like written out in command style?
I have seen commands written out in recipes as commands. I have seen instructions in recipes written as commands. I have seen instructions written in the se format. And the se format meaning anybody at all does it this way, right? It's like the se of se habla español. Spanish is spoken. Yeah. So with and I probably should have used different examples. I'll think about that next time because when we think about ingredients, often we start to go into, or at least women do, we go into recipe brain, yeah, the recipe mode, yeah. So ingredients in it, instructions in a recipe are instructions, and they might be written as commands. And in that case, they might be written as usted commands. So let's go back to that cortar thing. A cortar in, wait, one of these days I'm going to get my punctuation things sorted out with the different keyboards. If it's an usted command, and it might be given as ustedes, it might be given as usted, You just kind of have to go with the flow. It depends on what's in the mind of the writer. If she thinks she's writing for a plural audience, it'll be ustedes. If she's writing, she thinks for one person, she might be writing with the usted in mind, right? But here's going to be the basic command for usted. Corte, corte. And usted command gets the opposite vowel. It's an AR verb, okay? So the whole thing of cut the onion, it'll be córtela, córtela. See? Uh, if it's a negative command, no la corte. No las use or no la use. Okay? So here's another way that commands are written in recipes. They're sometimes used in this se format, which is considered impersonal you. Okay? So it might be expressed this way with the same verb. Se corta. Se corta, se corta la cebolla. The onion is cut, meaning I'm not talking to you as a human being. I'm talking to just anybody at all. So instructions in recipes might be written as commands. Instructions in recipes might be written in this safe format, which is not reflexive. It's just the impersonal you, like the se habla español, Spanish is spoken. Those are two ways you often see recipes in magazines, newspapers, videos, even. Yeah. How-to videos. They're done that way. So, okay.
Now you make me want to pull out my instruction manuals from stuff and read the
Yeah.
Spanish part and see how
Actually,
it's
yeah.
done.
Next time you order some little gadget, mechanical or electronic or whatever, pull out the instructions because often, those instructions come in more than one language, and all kinds of instructions might be written like that in that recipe kind of language. Yeah, in the recipe kind of language. Recipe, and I'm going to call it also instruction. Uh, Recipe and instruction language often will use the it or them word, yeah, because they'll be talking about uh, using screws to fix parts of something you're assembling together, right? Or positioning something or inserting a piece. So yeah, whether they're instructions to assemble something or recipes, these tend to come up a lot. Bien. ¿Ok? ¿Vale? ¿Sí? ¿Todo bien? ¿Good? ¿Todo bien? Ok. Vale. ¿Hay más ejemplos? Any other examples? No? Okay. Um, I want to move ahead to the two videos because I gave you. Oh, perdón, Nora.
Tengo una pregunta
Sí, sí, dime.
para la video de queso el sándwich de queso.
Ok. Ah, con la rubia, the blonde.
Sí,
Bien, bien, bien. Sí, that is what I am moving to. Sí,
okay.
exacto.
Gracias.
Momentito. Quiero poner su video en la pantalla. I want to see if you had any questions about the two, but we want to look at them separately. Okay?
Sí.
¿Hay alguna pregunta? And you'll notice she used a lot of these, las, in her examples. Okay, bueno, Nora, dime.
All right, I tried to as I was going through, I stopped and just wrote down the ones she had, but all the way down at minute 4:21, she said, El amor que le ponía mi abuela. The love that my grandmother put in it. Why did she say le?
Creo que el
Let's listen to
secreto
that.
de ese sándwich está en el amor que le ponía mi
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Creo que el secreto de ese sándwich
The secret of this sandwich
está en el amor que le ponía mi
Que
abuela.
le ponía.
está en el amor que le ponía mi abuela. Sí. Why is it le? Uh,
Maybe I just didn't understand exactly
el
the
amor,
word it's sitting there.
el amor, the love is not an actual ingredient. It's not an actual thing she's putting in. So when it's sort of like an abstract like that, it's not really a lo, la, los, or las. It's a le. She's talking in a really abstract way when you put love into something.
Okay,
Yeah. She's
worry
not talking
about
about
it.
an actual physical. She's not talking about an actual physical thing.
Exactly.
That's why. Por eso. That's
Okay.
why.
Because it's not trying to refer to a person like the indirect object.
Yeah. She's talking about putting love into your cooking, which is a really,
Okay.
it's not an actual thing that you're physically putting in. Y
Okay,
por eso. That's why. Sí.
all right.
Eso es.
I won't worry about that one.
Bien. Hay más ejemplos. Hay más preguntas. Are there any other questions about her little video? But I want you to just listen to how they use these. ¿No? ¿Sí? Bien. Fácil de entender. Easy to understand. ¿Sí? Bien. Ok. Vale. Perfecto. 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 Y el segundo video fue algo más difícil. This was a harder video, so I wanted you to listen to them in this order. ¿Sí? Fue una explicación. Este video fue una explicación de,
Lynn,
por ejemplo, fue una explicación de qué es la guía Michelin y por qué se usa, why is it used, y por qué hay una explicación de qué es este sistema, what is this system, qué es este sistema de dar estrellas a varios restaurantes, ¿sí? Una estrella Michelin, 2 estrellas Michelin, 3 estrellas Michelin, ¿sí? Ah, bueno, una explicación, ¿qué significa? What does it signify? What does it mean? ¿Sí? Y cómo se aplica, how is it applied? Sí, el sistema de Michelin. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Any question you had with there? And she used a few pronouns here, I think, here and there, but I wanted to know if you had any big things that were tough to understand or not. No, ¿fue fácil o difícil? Sí, Lori.
Just a comment. Me gusta mucho los videos que aprendo algo nuevo.
Bien, sí. Y ella explicó que hay más restaurantes en Europa que tienen una estrella Michelin, ¿sí? Y es simplemente cuestión de la geografía, que es más fácil evaluar restaurantes en Italia, en España, en Portugal, en Alemania, por ejemplo, sí, para la compañía que se llama Michelin, sí, es más fácil evaluar restaurantes que están cerca de Francia, ¿sí? Y requiere más esfuerzo, requiere más empleados, requiere más trabajo a evaluar restaurantes en Norteamérica, en Sudamérica, ¿sí? Porque esos países están muy, muy lejos de Francia, de la compañía que se llama Michelin, que evalúa los restaurantes, ¿sí? Para viajeros principalmente, ¿sí? Y entonces, sí, una estrella Michelin tiene como 3 estrellas, ¿sí? Vale la pena, it's worth it, vale la pena viajar y hacer un viaje específicamente para visitar un restaurante y comer en un restaurante de 3 estrellas Michelin, ¿sí? Vale la pena incluir el restaurante o incluso hacer un viaje especial para tener la experiencia de comer en ese restaurante. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? ¿Ok? Bien. Vale. Bueno, ¿hay más preguntas de esto o no? ¿No? ¿Nada? ¿Fácil? ¿Easy?
Me interesa que Michelin da las estrellas porque usamos la neumáticos cuando viajar al restaurantes.
Sí. Sí, exacto. Bien. Bueno, entonces. Sí, bien. Ok. Ah, quiero darles ah, ah, opciones con el tiempo que tenemos. Well, I want to give you a couple of options and see what you would prefer to do with our remaining time because I have 2 different ideas, but if I do both of them, it will be too much. So I want you to pick one that you want to include in class for tonight or for today, during the day, hoy en día. We had a request to take a look at expressions that use dar, que es buena sugerencia, which is a good suggestion. O tenemos un video que habla de expresiones que usamos en Internet, especialmente en Zoom, ¿sí? Pero en Internet. A little video that talks about ideas that we use all the time. And the first part of the video in particular focuses a lot on things that happen when we're online in meetings. ¿Cuál de las opciones prefieren ustedes? ¿Hablar de algo de gramática, expresiones con dar, con el verbo dar, o expresiones con el uso de Internet? And I'll give you a little clue. A lot of they talk about like how people talk about the screen freezing up or being on mute or all those little terms that you use online. ¿Cuál de las opciones prefieren ustedes? Which of the options do you prefer? ¿Cuál?
Me encanta mucho todas las expresiones en general. Para, para mí, tengo la impresión que cuando una persona puede usar las expresiones muy bien, es muy útil, es muy práctica.
Ok, entonces, dar,
Acomodar, sí,
¿sí?
está bien.
Bien. Hay más opiniones de esto,
Sí.
¿no?
Dar.
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 Dar. Ok,
Sí.
vale, vale, bien, bien. Ok. Bueno, um, vale la pena. It is really, really worth it. It is really worth it. Some of you may have seen this video before, but it is worth it. There's only one expression I think that may not be quite as useful, but I'm going to show it, and then we're going to look at some uh, uh, more written out uses, but this is like an actual usage. Dar es un verbo muy importante. Dar es un verbo muy común. Dar, to give. Y es importante porque se usa mucho, por ejemplo, dar, usamos dar todos los días porque quiere decir entregar, because it means to hand something over, right? To give. Y es muy común cuando estamos en las tiendas, cuando estamos en los restaurantes, el verbo dar se usa todo el tiempo. Okay, it's used all the time. So we use dar when we talk about the exchange of money or getting items. We use the verb dar when also we use it a lot to order stuff. Especially in Latin America, it is frequently used as not a command, but as a kinder and more polite way to say, could you get me a coffee? Me das un café, por favor. Me da, with the idea of usted. Me da un café, por favor, to the waiter. So we use it in ordering all the time. But beyond even that, you know, the practical uses of that in stores, in restaurants to order something, that has loads and loads of little expressions that get thrown out. And this is like daily, daily, daily. So there's no way to cover all of that, but we're going to hear a few of them today. And I'll probably give you some little examples to come back and practice next week. So we'll get our feet wet. We'll take a look at like a more written out, not video setting. We'll use two things as sources here because different videos will show you different things. And there's only one part of this I'm going to cut out because one part of it I think is a little bit less useful. Sin subtítulos. I think I'm going to cut the subtitles on this one. Momentito, momentito. Bien, ok, vale.
Nashville, pues al final del video les voy a contar qué estamos haciendo allá o qué vamos a hacer allá.
So at the end of the video, she's going to tell you what she's doing.
Mientras tanto, vamos a aprender algunas cosas acerca de un verbo en español que tiene muchos usos, que es el verbo dar. Entonces, si están interesados, quédense con nosotros.
So you're going to hear 4 of these because I'm going to cut one out because I think it's a little bit less useful for you guys, but bien.
Hace algún tiempo leí que se conoce una palabra por la palabra que la acompaña. Mejor dicho, todas las palabras tienen un significado, pero a veces su significado puede cambiar con las palabras que tengan al lado.
So a word has a definition on its own, by itself. You know, that has a definition. But sometimes the definition of that word changes in its meaning because of the words it is accompanied with, the words it is combined with. Okay. And this happens in all languages, in English as well. But it's something that can be confusing for us with Spanish. So dar is for sure one of those words.
Es muy importante tener en cuenta que los hablantes nativos de español no hablamos usando palabras individuales,
We don't speak in Spanish using individual words,
sino grupos de palabras.
but rather groups of words.
Y por eso es muy importante que tú aprendas grupos de palabras. Hoy vamos a conocer 5 grupos de palabras que puedes usar con el verbo dar. Vamos a empezar con lo básico. El verbo dar tiene una definición, no es la única, pero una definición es entregar. El verbo dar
And entregar is just a higher level word than dar. It's a fancier word, but it has the same general meaning. Entregar is to hand over, to deliver, to give something. Entregar is used when you turn in your taxes, when you hand in a paper to the teacher when you're a kid, you hand in a report to your boss. It's entregar. It's a fancier word for that. Just think of it, yeah? Think of entregar as turn in, hand over, yeah, something like that. But dar is the more basic, which we use every day, all the time, just chit-chatting quickly.
es entregar. Por ejemplo, cuando yo entrego o doy el teléfono a Cody. Estoy dando.
So, entrego el teléfono would kind of be more like I hand over. Yeah. I pass it over to. That's entregar. But dar is the basic. Es
el
lo
teléfono
básico.
a Cody. Bueno, vamos a empezar con la conjugación del verbo
Y
dar.
las formas.
Es un verbo
Doy, das,
irregular.
da, damos.
Entonces, atención. La conjugación es yo doy, tú das, él, ella da, nosotros damos, ustedes dan.
Now, ahorita, I want to show you, I want to say to you, keep in mind, because you guys listen to a lot of videos, you may hear dar used in the past instead of in the present. So be prepared that dar en presente, solamente yo es irregular en presente. Only the yo form is one of these oddball ones in present, right? It's irregular like estoy, like soy for yo, okay? Doy, doy, but, pero, es regular en para hablar de las otras personas, ¿sí? Das regular, da regular, damos regular, dan muy regular. Ok, pero, es muy frecuente que usamos dar en pretérito. So, preterite is super common. Preterite is probably more common for dar than imperfecto. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on imperfecto with dar. You could, I mean, es regular, daba, dabas, daba, dabamos, sí, daban. Okay. But really, how you're going to hear dar more frequently to talk in the past is pretérito, because it usually, dar happens like that, right? So that's why pretérito is more common for dar, because it happens fast, and then it's over. Yeah? You usually don't talk about dar as used to give. You say, I gave. Yeah? And it talks about something that happened, and it's done. So here's what you need to keep in mind with dar. Muy irregular, es muy irregular en pretérito. You may hear some of these verbs used in pretérito. So then it's di, di, Wow. Why di with an AR verb? Well, it's just irregular. This is one of the true, very odd verbs in preterite tense. This is why preterite is such a pain in the neck in Spanish. It's got so many irregulars. Diste, dio. Dimos, dieron. Diste, dio. Dimos, dieron. You may hear that. You may, if it's used to talk about feelings, you may hear it as imperfecto, pero regular. It is regular and imperfecto, so it's not hard to think about, right? An AR verb gets an aba ending. So, diste, dio, dimos, dieron, daba, imperfecto, sí, daba, dabas, daba, dábamos, daban. Ok, vale, bien. Don't worry about future. You kind of don't need it. Yeah?
Atención.
Here we go.
La conjugación es yo doy, tú das,
And
él
let's skip over this.
presente, ¿no? Ya les dejo de tarea a ustedes buscar cómo se conjuga en pasado, en futuro, bueno, en todos los tiempos.
Pero esa no es la única definición. Entonces, vamos a ver qué otras palabras puedes usar con dar.
What other words
Por
do we use with it?
ejemplo, darse cuenta de algo.
Bien, ok. Primero. Muy importante. Darse cuenta de algo, darse cuenta de algo. Ah, uy, darse cuenta de algo. To realize something. Okay. And notice it is reflexive. So we need the me, te, nos, se. We need those pronouns. It is reflexive. And that word cuenta in the middle always stays the same. It is always cuenta, no matter who does it. So cuenta gets no changes at all, ever, 0%. It's always cuenta. And it always has to be this series of words that hang together. Darse cuenta de algo. If you were to translate it literally, it would mean to give yourself an account of, a story of something. Well, that makes no sense in translation. What it means is to realize. And a lot of times you're going to hear this with pretérito. Because, okay, you might say, she doesn't realize what she's doing. God, she's so dim. Okay. And then it'll be presente, fine. But usually it's like, you're talking about, oh, shoot, I didn't realize this bill was due today. I didn't realize that there are only dirty clothes in the laundry, something like that. So this one you'll hear a lot with pretérito, but it'll have, me di cuenta, te diste cuenta, se dio cuenta, nos dimos cuenta, right? And then we need the little de in there too. So we'll give you an example here.
Cuando te das cuenta de algo, significa que notas algo, que estás viendo o notando, eres consciente de algo que antes no veías.
So that's like when you notice something, like you haven't noticed before. Like,
Sí.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
En inglés es como to realize.
Ah, to realize, okay.
Sí, entonces darse cuenta de algo.
And look at all those. Cuenta is the same no matter who does it, right? En presente me doy cuenta, te das cuenta, se da cuenta, nos damos cuenta, se dan cuenta.
Entonces tú lo conjugas así. Me doy cuenta, te das cuenta, se da cuenta, nos damos cuenta, se dan cuenta.
For example, so, me doy cuenta este carro.
Sí, pero tienes que decir, me doy cuenta de.
Okay. So, me doy cuenta de este carro.
Sí, por ejemplo.
Okay.
Otro ejemplo. Ayer estaba poniendo las cosas en mi bolso y me di cuenta de que no tenía mis documentos, mi licencia.
Me di cuenta, muy típico, sí, me di cuenta de que no tenía mi licencia de conducción. I realized that I didn't have my driver's license. O mis documentos, my documents. Me di cuenta de que. I realized that. Okay?
Marilyn,
Sí.
So you also always have to have the de?
I have to have the de. Sí.
Okay.
Darse cuenta de. And then the something. Okay? Bien. No me di cuenta de que no tenía mi licencia de conducción. ¿Sí? No me di cuenta de qué hora es. I didn't have any idea. Oh, wow, I didn't realize what time it is. Time is flying, right? No me di cuenta de ese problema. I didn't realize that problem. I wasn't aware of it. ¿Ok? ¿Bien?
Licencia de conducción. Entonces no puedo manejar sin mi licencia de conducción. Me di cuenta de que no tenía mi licencia. Entonces la busqué y la encontré. Me di cuenta, noté. Pero ¿sabes qué? Me da lo mismo.
Here's a different use of dar. Me da lo mismo.
Me da lo mismo porque la verdad casi no manejo. Entonces, me da lo mismo es otra expresión. ¿Qué crees que significa, Cody?
Y mismo es same, right? And this is a lo mismo.
That means like it's the same for me.
Correcto, sí, me da lo mismo. Y atención a cómo lo estoy diciendo. Puedes decir, me da lo mismo, te da lo mismo, a ella le da lo mismo, nos da lo mismo, les da lo mismo. Correcto, entonces, me da lo mismo si manejas o manejo.
Ah, ¿qué quiere decir? Me da lo mismo si manejas tú o manejo yo.
It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me. And there's a little twist on this. She's going to talk about at the end, and it's an important twist because you may hear this with a slightly different word combo than lo mismo.
No importa.
It'll have the same
Me
meaning.
da lo mismo significa no importa, no pasa nada, no hay problema si tú haces esto o si yo
So it's like saying doesn't matter. Yeah? Me da lo
hago
mismo.
esto. Si tienes
It's like saying it's all the same to me. It's all the same to me.
dos opciones y no tienes problema con ninguna opción, puedes decir, me da lo mismo.
Here's the twist on that. It means the exact same thing. It also uses dar. Me da igual. Me da igual means the exact same thing as me da lo mismo. It doesn't matter. I don't care. No importa. No biggie. Yeah. It's all the same to me. Me da lo mismo o me da igual. Me da igual. Both of those little phrases use dar and they both have the same meaning.
Otra manera de decirlo es, me da igual. Me da
So this is yeah, me da igual. Ooh, I'll let her have her example.
igual. ¿Qué prefieres? ¿Quieres sacar a Maya esta noche o quieres que yo la saque?
And Maya was their dog. See? ¿Quieres sacar a Maya? Do you want to take Maya out or do you want me to do it?
Me da igual.
Perfecto, entonces
Me da igual. I don't care. Either way, I can take her, you can take her, doesn't matter. Right? All the same to me. Me da igual.
no importa quién hace la acción, me da igual. Bien. La siguiente manera de usar el verbo dar es con esta expresión, dar una vuelta.
Muy importante. Dar una vuelta. These are the things, little tidbits that people use in conversation. Dar una vuelta. Una vuelta is going around. Una vuelta. Yeah. This comes from volver, to return, to come back.
Cuando vas a dar una vuelta significa que no vas a estar mucho tiempo afuera, vas a salir a caminar quizás o vas a salir por un rato corto, por un tiempo corto.
This means you're going to go out for just a short while. Like you're going to have to take a little turn around the block. You're just going out for a bit. This is dar una vuelta.
A hacer algo corto. Por ejemplo, cuando yo saco a mi perra Maya a caminar, vamos a dar una vuelta.
So that means to like do a lap or go around.
Yeah, kind of like doing a lap. You're going out just for a short while. A quick turn around, a quick trip around someplace is dar una vuelta.
Realmente sí, eso es lo que significa. Pero es más como cuando tú vas a caminar por un momento corto, por 5 minutos, por algo corto.
Okay, so it's just like a short lap or short trip.
Por ejemplo, Cody, ya regreso, voy a salir, voy a dar una vuelta y vengo en 5 minutos.
So it really indicates a short trip someplace. Yeah. If it's something that's going to take 3 or 4 hours, it's not dar una vuelta. Okay. So the fact that it's just a short period of time is really pretty key with this phrase.
Sabes, hay otro tipo de usos para el verbo dar, pero este creo que es el que más uso, es el que más escucho. Y es cuando usas me da y luego una palabra. Por ejemplo, me da tristeza.
And here's another thing. This is one that talks about feelings, that you feel a certain way. It's often expressed with it gives me, and then the reaction, the emotional reaction word comes next. So notice that the words she uses down here are tristeza, sadness, rabia, anger, alegría, happiness. So when something makes you sad, makes you kind of ticked off, uh, or makes you happy, you might hear a word with me da. Yeah. And that's like saying it makes me feel this way. It gives me this feeling, is what this will say. But it's not me doy. Yeah. Okay. Not me doy. It's me da. Like kind of like gustar. Okay, Nora? Oh, and you're on mute. Estás en silencio.
A quick question back on that dar una vuelta. Is
Uh-huh.
that always dar? It didn't look like she conjugated it.
Oh, she did. Sí.
I'm gonna take a dar una vuelta. Voy a dar.
Voy a dar una vuelta. Doy una vuelta. Voy a dar una vuelta means
Oh,
I'm going to do it
okay.
soon. Yeah. Voy
Okay.
a dar una vuelta. And the only reason it's dar there is because she's using voy a.
Okay.
Voy a dar. Right.
Okay.
But she could have just as easily said doy una vuelta.
Okay. Thanks.
Sí. Okay.
Another question.
Sí, sí.
So you said it's like gustar. So would it ever be dan, or is it always just da?
Can be, but it's often that. She'll give you some examples here.
Me da rabia, me da alegría. Es como decir, tengo la sensación de, y luego un sentimiento o una emoción.
So it means like it makes me feel like something.
Sí, algo así. Cuando tú dices me da rabia, me da alegría, me da hambre, me da tristeza, es cuando tienes una sensación que otra cosa te produce.
Okay, so when you've got a feeling that is something external is producing this feeling on you. And can it be plural? It can be, but let's not get into that yet. Let's
Por
look at the
ejemplo,
basic one
me
right now.
da risa cuando la gente pelea en los foros en internet.
Okay, me da risa. Risa is this. Ha, 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 ha. Me da risa. It makes me, it gives me the, yeah, it gives me the yips with that. It gives, yeah, it's funny to me. It gives me laughter. Yeah, risa is laughter. It gives me, so we would say it makes me laugh.
Me da hambre cuando veo comida en la televisión.
Muy
It makes me hungry when I see food on TV. Me da hambre, me da hambre.
bien, sí me da hambre, me produce la sensación de hambre.
Otra. Me da nervioso.
Okay, listen to this now. He used nervioso, but that isn't, it needs to be flipped a little bit. He's going to change nervioso. He needs to use it in a different form.
No digas la característica, di la palabra. Entonces, nervioso es la característica y la palabra sería nervios. Nervios.
So me da nervios.
Nervios.
Me da nervios.
Estira la boca.
Me da nervios.
Eso.
Cuando veo un policía.
También.
It makes me nervous when I see a cop. Okay, sí, me da nervios.
Sí, me da nervios. O
Cuando manejar.
cuando manejo.
Manejo.
O por ejemplo, me da pereza cuando vamos a Nashville.
Me da pereza is kind of pereza means laziness. When you're saying you don't feel like doing something.
¿Extrañas Nashville, Cody?
Para mí, no.
You don't feel like it, it's
No.
boring to you.
Porque Nashville tiene
It's a drag.
mucho
Me da
tráfico.
pereza.
No, pero no me parece tan terrible.
Para mí no me gusta.
Bueno, pero te da pereza ir a Nashville.
Ah, sí, no me gusta.
Sí, me da pereza.
Me da pereza.
Te
Marilyn,
da pereza levantarte.
Sí, sí.
I don't quite understand why nervioso was wrong and nervio was
Because
correct.
this is because we don't use it with a quality, we use it with a noun. So me da nervios, me da hambre. Hambre is a noun, hunger. Literally, it gives me nerves, like a nerve attack. It gives me hunger, hambre, not hungry. Yeah. Me da tristeza. It gives me sadness. Not triste, not triste, sad, but tristeza, sadness. Aha. Es una clave. This is a key thing. We use this me da with a noun, not with an adjective, not with a describer, with a noun.
Temprano, te da pereza. Bueno, Cody, ¿ya cuánto nos falta para llegar a Nashville?
Creo que 2 horas, hora y media.
¿En serio?
Sí.
Ay, todavía falta mucho. Bueno, todavía nos falta mucho tiempo para llegar a Nashville. Me da mucha pereza cuando vamos a Nashville porque generalmente vamos allá solamente para cosas de documentos y cosas así como aburridas. Entonces no me interesa mucho ir allá, pero vamos a terminar la lección de dar con esta expresión. No dar pie.
This is the one we're going to skip because it's kind of not because it's a sports thing, but because you probably don't have as many uses. You can listen to it later, though. It's kind of talking for messing up. Oh, let's look at her examples at the end, and we're coming about to the right end.
Es la razón por la que hoy estamos en Nashville es porque tuve que venir a las oficinas de inmigración de Estados Unidos porque me di cuenta de que necesito un sello en mi pasaporte.
Me di cuenta de que necesito. I realized that I need a stamp verification, right? En mis documentos, en my documents.
Resulta que mi tarjeta de residente ya se venció y ya envié los papeles para una tarjeta nueva. Pero mientras espero esa tarjeta, necesito una extensión que ya tengo, pero se va a vencer muy pronto, exactamente en un mes. Como mi tarjeta nueva no ha llegado y todavía estoy esperándola, no me da lo mismo. Es una situación muy importante.
And now she's saying, I can't say that it doesn't matter. No me da lo mismo. It does matter.
No me da igual, no me da lo mismo, porque si no tengo esa tarjeta, en un mes va a ser como si yo no hubiera hecho nada del proceso que he hecho durante estos 3 años. Entonces, por eso hoy estamos aquí en Nashville, 3 horas de camino desde Knoxville, dando una vuelta para...
Estamos dando, and I'm being sarcastic. It is not a short turnout. If it took him a couple hours to get there and then a couple hours to get back, estamos dando una vuelta. We're taking a run, we're taking a lap, and she's being sarcastic because it really doesn't, it's a long trip.
Para que me pongan solo un sello en mi pasaporte. Nos da mucha pereza hacer este viaje porque son 3 horas de camino solamente.
So it gives us it makes us really bored. It's a real drag to have to do this. Nos da mucha pereza.
Para un sello en un papel. Pero es algo necesario, es algo que yo necesito hacer para continuar mi estadía en este país. Entonces, por eso estamos acá. Ya vengo.
Okay, so bien, I've already gone a little bit too much over. So I'll give you that whole thing. You can look at the sports analogy. It can actually be kind of useful to say I messed up, but the other ones are ones that you hear all the time, all the time. These are not the only things with dar, not the only things. I'll give you some situations or kind of finish it off ideas with these specific examples. to maybe come back and use them in a conversational way next week. ¿Sí? ¿Está bien? So we'll take a look at that, give you a chance to use some expressions with that, and we'll take a look at a few more of those maybe next week. ¿Sí? La semana que viene.
I know we're going over, but I
Sí.
just had a really quick question. I was thinking, you know, the tener expressions like tener sed, tener hambre. I guess a lot of those you could just, those expressions probably work with the me
Sí.
da.
Sí.
Like you could just interchange a lot.
So, okay,
Me
por
da
ejemplo, sí.
éxito, me da.
Me da sed ver los vasos de cerveza que tiene el mesero. Wow, makes me thirsty seeing all the beer glasses that the waiter's got. Sí, es así. Bien, perfecto, perfecto. But yeah, we do have to insert a noun in that. And I'll put a little, I'll put little tips in all of these for you. And I'll actually give you a little website to take a look at some other uses of dar, because there are many, 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 but will only require you to maybe practice about 3 of these coming back to class next week. And then you'll get a new video that just talks about regular conversational stuff. Sí, ¿todo bien? ¿Todo bien?
Gracias.
Magnífico, magnífico, excelente. Entonces, expresiones con dar. Una buena sugerencia. Gracias, Lori. Thank you for that because it is a super useful thing to know and to practice a little bit. Bien, vale, perfecto. Oh, let me throw out my
Gracias.
lines. See?